You're watching New Car Spin. This is a Nissan Frontier. It's a pickup truck. It's a Pro4X, which means it's definitely off-road worthy. You can see it has steel skid plates. It also has some tow hooks and off-road tires. Let me make my way around here. Sorry. All right. Try to avoid all the poison oak. All right. It's got a pretty cool bed. If I remember right from last year's version, yep, it's got the rails in there. It's lined. It's got the power outlet. It's got some hooks on there. It's got a little, yeah. I'm not sure what the accessories on this thing are, but it's definitely the Pro4X version. And I'm borrowing this truck today. You can see it's got the manufacturer plate on there. Nissan is here today at this ranch. And I am the vice president this year of the Texas Motor Press Association, and we're doing this off-road comparison drive. So we have a lot of trucks here. We have some Jeeps. We got some strange off-roaders like the Mazda CX-50. But oh look, we have rock slides on here with ports to add some probably side steps. But I want to just give this a quick drive and talk to you about this Frontier, because back in the day, 20 years ago. Okay, this needs a handle here. I owned a Toyota pickup, so I like trucks this size. This one is all new from last year, so it's still a relatively all new truck, and you know, it's got some quirky things to it, like that foot parking brake down there. And it also has very traditional stuff, but also new tech. So last year I did a video on the Frontier, and I talked about the cabin dampeners, all the isolation they have. But really driving this thing right now, I notice the steering is really heavy, but it's kind of a good heavy. It's not like obnoxious heavy. It just feels very genuine and authentic. And I think that would make sense on the highway for sure. Here off-road, I prefer a little bit of lighter steering so I can actually feel what I'm going over. But when it's heavy like this, when you're going over these you know, kind of like knotted trails, it isolates all of it, so you're not feeling any of that transmitting through on the steering, and you're not fighting any of the steering. It just seems to be heavy enough to make it so that you're not having to deal with fighting all the time. And some of these trucks today, the Tundra in particular, actually, which is weird, I'm constantly straightening it out on this track. But regardless, talking about the Frontier, I know the Tacoma, I drove recently on a different drive, and I like the Tacoma. But if you can't get a Tacoma, or the Tacoma's out of your price range, this Frontier is always a solid option. And yes, it's made by Nissan, so I think this is one of the very few vehicles that they make that is still sort of a traditional version of a vehicle that they're not trying to appease an American market with. I think this truck is made for the entire world, so it's going to be built to a much better standard than the American market, just to be honest with you. I think a lot of stuff that manufacturers make for America, like Volkswagen, it's made to be a particular lease payment, or it's made to be, you know, of a particular value point. And to me, value is a double-edged sword. It's very tricky to get value right. Like, you'll get a cheap car, but it won't have a lockable glove box. Here, because the Nissan Frontier is made for the rest of the world, we have a lockable glove box. And that's important if you're out in the country, because you never know when you might need a little device that can protect you from wild animals. But, you know, that's just the way life is. I also have a sunroof. And what else? Let me pull over here real quick. Just do another walk around on this thing, or at least find the window sticker. Here we go. So, just for my edification, yes, 2022 Nissan Frontier Pro4X Crew Cab 4x4 automatic V6, $46,570. So I think this is about $3-4 grand cheaper than the Toyota Tacoma TRD Pro, and don't quote me on that. But it's not like it's trying to be a Toyota TRD. It's really trying to be its own. How would you say, if Toyota couldn't make enough Tacomas for the world to meet all the demand, you know, Nissan is here to help fill that need, help fill the demand. Are those coffee cherries? What is that? I'm not touching it. So in essence, you know, they've updated the look of the Frontier. It looks more striking than the Tacoma, and it's trying to be like a big boy truck. It's trying to be like a full-size truck because of the features, like the step up there and the larger cabin doors than the Tacoma. And that was my biggest problem with the Tacoma, which maybe it's yours too, is the ingress egress is limited because there's not much headroom in the Tacoma. And until that new Tacoma comes out, which is who knows when, the Frontier is actually something that will be much easier to get in and out of. And so when I get in here, and this is with a sunroof, this is how much headroom I have. And so when you're off-roading and you're bobbing around in the truck, I've always said that in the TRD Pro, it's like, why did they give me so little room in the Tacoma TRD Pro? If I'm off-roading, I'm hitting my head all the time, which is not fun. But here, I actually have no concern for that. And I think there is a sunroof delete here that you can get, but don't quote me on that. Anyway, door sound is solid. And while we don't get the JBL sound system in here, because that's what the Toyota has, we do get the Fender stereo. And I'd audition that for you, but you know, what you hear on camera and on your speakers is not what you're going to hear on these speakers, because you're not in this truck and you're not listening to these speakers. You're listening to your speakers. That plus YouTube would flag the video for the audio content anyway, so not going to waste our time. The mirrors are a little weird here. They're kind of small. They're like out of a car. So they obviously have that little tip on them for the self-cleaning. Keeps it from getting dirty. And I don't know what this is like on the freeway, because I've actually only ever driven a Frontier in the wilderness, or in the wild frontier, technically. But you can definitely assure yourself that Toyota did not show up to this event with the Tacoma for some reason, but they did bring the Tundra. So I would have loved to drive the Pro4X and the TRD Pro back to back and really do a proper comparison from the same trail, same driver, same day, same conditions. But you know, whatever. I think the steering is the heaviest steering I've ever experienced in a new car, but it makes sense. Anyway, approach angle on this is about 32 degrees. Departure is 23. And I thought about taking this thing up a little cliff to see what that's like. Or not a cliff, a kind of a mountain out of a molehill. But I think I really don't have the time. So you know what? Let's go for it. We have shift on the fly 4-wheel drive, and we have 4-low down there, and it's electronic, so we're gonna go for it. I know the last Frontier I had as a press vehicle off-road, they're like, hey, yeah, guess what, we're gonna crush it, so go ahead and beat it up. And it was like, okay. But here I am driving this one, which they didn't tell me they're crushing. I think they're actually driving it back to I don't know, Nashville or something. Anyway, I feel like this truck is slightly more comfortable than the Tacoma, just from the perspective of the cabin size. The cabin size in here is vast. I feel like the Tacoma is always cool. It's traditional, it's classic in a Toyota Tacoma kind of way. But this is like, hey, what if we did a truck and you know, did it for a purpose, like to make to make it do the same thing, but a little bit more roomy. I think we're gonna go into neutral here, push, go into 4 low. Okay, that's done. Cameras turn on automatically. We're in drive. I think the center lock is on. I don't know, is there a center lock button down there? There's a crawl control button. Yep, there's a rear diff lock. We're gonna go up this. I certainly don't want a high center on it. Okay, let's park it right there for a second. This is hard to do when you're by yourself, but parking brake on. Okay. Boom. Let's see what we could get ourselves into, because now what I have to do is not only get up this, but go all the way up it and go up there and turn around. So I don't know if I have enough battery life on my camera to do that, but yeah. Boom. There you go. I didn't hesitate taking it up. See, I was pretty sure it was going to bottom out, but thank God we didn't. See if I can get a shot. Boom. All right, there you go. There it is, the Nissan Frontier. Yes, it can go off-road. The Pro4X, shift on the fly, 4-wheel drive, and obviously 4 low. Made it. It did here. I mean, it just did just fine, just like that Jeep Wrangler. So it's as capable as a Wrangler, but it's a truck for the world. So it doesn't have any American market specific nonsense on it. It's basically, it's a nice truck, and you're getting a lot of value for your money, even though it's not the value that you're like a typical American value where we're trying to get cheap. Its value is in you're getting a lot of stuff. So I think that's very hard to find, especially as we move forward into the future with whatever conflicts are arising. But definitely don't hesitate to get a Nissan Frontier if you need a truck. All right, thanks for watching. See ya.